Welcome back, everyone. This is What the Flicks review of Fear the Walking Dead. I'm Tim, Francis, and Alonzo. This week we have Season 2, Episode 4, Blood in the Streets. Nick goes on a mysterious mission to pick up an associate of Strand's. We learn a little bit more about Strand's past, who he is, where he came from, where he's going. And the Abigail is invaded, boarded by pirates, the ones that Alicia communicated with before.
Yes.
And the group is separated for the first time this season.
Interesting. It's as we predicted.
Is that a Walking Dead thing where like you guys go over there and now y'all? Because I figured at some point, it hasn't happened. It didn't really happen at all in season 1, or I guess maybe a little when the military showed up. But I figured dividing up our cast was going to be inevitable.
A very common plot device in The Walking Dead is to split our groups up, whether it be in chaos or by plan.
Gotcha.
Kind of stratify.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into that. That was actually one of my main reasons why I detested many of the episodes in the latter seasons of Walking Dead, because they would do it for false dramatic effect to increase vulnerability. Oh, the group's all split, now we can just target this group. But of course, our recent group in Fear the Walking Dead are a little bit more naive. And Nick, actually, no one knew he was leaving. He was literally a secret agent and played into, which is easily the best character development for me at the moment. I love what's going on with him. You mentioned a great point off camera that him as an actor, you think he's just having, I think he's just having a blast playing this role. I think he's just enjoying being a former drug addict who is now thriving in a world where he can literally use his assets to the best of his ability. Like you mentioned, he knows what drugs people now need to pick up if you're going to pick them up from around the scraps. And he is just, he's allowing himself now to just channel some of the I would say the assets that he had in the previous world before it went to shit, and he's thriving in it, and he's doing such a good job.
He's found a sense of purpose in the
yes,
apocalypse.
Right.
Absolutely.
For sure, I won't disagree with that.
Okay, I like that.
So what do we think about the boarding party, the group that looks like they need some help, but then the tides quickly turn?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I would say he was absolutely right about the whole, if you have to ask, should I shoot them? Shoot them.
Yeah.
I mean, that said, and as far as Chris has come in the last couple of days, can you shoot a pregnant woman screaming for help on a boat? I mean, it's trouble, but can you do it?
Yeah, and I thought, I mean, first of all, I think that that scenario that they were put in was great. I really enjoyed. I mean, we sensed it coming. We sensed how they've come across a few groups now who have asked for help and they've turned them away. And then in a typical fashion, as The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead will like to do, is they just pose a scenario where you're going to have to face the reality that you need to put yourself first. Chris is somewhat came full circle with that, but he's not to the level of harshness where you're going to shoot someone without really finding out their story. Strand basically just thought, I just don't trust anyone anymore. I'm going to go and try and fend for myself. Wasn't the most, I would say, it wasn't the smartest option. He's definitely not a fighter, I would believe, because he had a gun, but he didn't want to use it. He'd rather put himself in jeopardy out in the open water rather than face it. So I did like the scenario they were placed into. And I mean, they're naive. They're still learning. They'll take from this and they'll learn. But this is what we said is in the last episode, where you're going to take parts from each scenario, and that's what's going to form this group and make them stronger. But I really thought that I would see a little bit more harshness from them. I didn't expect them to be overturned so easily. Like they were equal in numbers, or they had extra numbers. They just seemed like it
was a smaller party that took over.
Yeah, it showed their weaknesses, which is necessary, I think.
Well, and again, the invading group very wisely divvied them up just geographically among the different places in the boat, which was a smart plan. And yeah, you're right. They're still thinking in pre-apocalyptic terms.
Yes. Right.
They haven't completely fallen into the mindset of like ultimate survival all the time at all costs, no matter who that means, who you have to repel and how.
So here's what I love about this particular storyline that'll be a little bit lost in Alonzo, is because imagine this story arc if it was in The Walking Dead.
Okay.
They'd talk about Connor being on the radio, but we wouldn't see him for maybe till the end of the season. They'd take away Travis and Alicia and put them on another boat, but the other ones would be tied up for 3 episodes. And
Yes.
they'd play psychological mind games with their captors and whatnot. And this show is like, boom, get it taken care of. We're moving, we're doing stuff.
Yeah.
It felt like 0% filler.
Yeah.
Lots of plot move forward here.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see that, and you're so right. It's the myth of the character and it's always the myth of the character who's charming and he's not so heavy. He's not so heavy in his actions. Like in this scenario, Connor is. Oh, he's got a good heart, really. But in the Walking Dead situation, that's just a massive red flag for psychopath who will kill you, but he'll be charming beforehand.
He listens to me.
He listens.
Your family would say he'll listen to me.
I loved Madison's like, oh, let's talk about babies and blah blah.
Yeah.
What if it's dead?
Oh my God.
Like,
and
whoa!
it turned inside you and it's going to eat its way out. Oh, that'll be so gross.
Oh, that was awful. That
But
was chilling.
when exactly did it move last? Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Come on.
Think
how,
about
how
it.
long?
Get in your head a little bit and think about it.
But it was good to see. So obviously when the tide shifted, get it? Because we're on a boat. All right. So when it did change and we suddenly have Nick gather at another associate who is going to be useful because he can just pick people off from 100 deep with a sniper rifle, no problem.
On a rocking
on a
heavy
boat.
shot.
Right, yeah.
He's obviously
headshots.
it's no problem. Diazepam on the boat, steady his hand, bang.
Somewhere Jim Beaver on Better Call Saul is going, oh, that's well done.
Phenomenal. So he picks him and Nick. I like that dynamic of them two. But he's now faced with a dilemma, and he makes a great point, which everyone in the boat overlooks at this point. My main flaw for the group is they're always questioning Strand, right? They're always questioning him for his motives, where are we going? When they keep realizing that everything else, every other plan, they haven't got another plan. Every other piece of land they've been on has been overrun. They don't know where they're going. So when this new associate comes on, says, I will Strand, he had no reason to trust you, but he took you on board. So they were all like, well, we didn't trust Strand, he abandoned us. Well, you guys never showed any real sense of loyalty towards him. So why should you... why should this now one of Strand's associates trust you guys? Because you've taken over his boat, basically. Well, I know there's been different situations, and now he's stranded. Another pun. Sorry,
Oh my God. God.
I changed my mind about finishing this clip. Just smashed to our graphic. We're done.
Yeah, let's just pretend this never happened.
I feel like
Okay.
So you're right. We meet Luis. He adds a new dynamic to the group, but we also learn his and Strand's and the real Abigail's backstory,
Yeah.
Right.
which is interesting.
Yes.
We have Doug Ray Scott, the poor
Right.
man's Gerard Butler. No offense if there's Doug Ray Scott fans out there, but I've not seen him in something since, I don't remember the last thing I've seen him in, but it was interesting to see his character.
Yeah, he pops up in things, but
Yeah.
I remember, like I was telling these guys before, that he was the original. He was gonna play Wolverine in the
That's so
X-Men movie, and then I think he couldn't get out of Mission Impossible 2, and I'm sure that's not a decision he regrets at all. But you were asking Nick or Tim about the
Right. So we have this big reveal at the end of the episode,
Right.
with Strand and Abigail sharing a kiss.
Right.
Now, to me, it seemed obvious from their first interaction, but I guess they wanted to string that out to the end.
Well, you get the hand before that,
Right,
by
right.
the pool, the hand holding.
So clearly, these men have some sort of relationship, and it's not confirmed till the very end that they are lovers.
Yeah.
As gross as that word is.
And it always brings to mind like Will Ferrell, with the fake beard. We're lovers. You go on lovers walks. Yes, I know.
So that for the episode was a big reveal.
Yeah.
But should it be?
It's funny you should bring this up because back when I worked at The Advocate in the early part of the 21st century, we would very commonly discuss the gay reveal.
Right.
Because it was always a sort of like, it's the contemporary equivalent of what they used to do in movies where somebody would ride a motorcycle and do all these amazing stunts and then come roaring up to a stop and then whip the helmet off and boom, the long blonde hair comes out. Oh, it's a girl, It's sort of the same thing here. Like, oh my God, they're gay, which it's a little played out. But, given that we didn't have any backstory on this guy up until now, this whole episode has been our first glimpses of anything. It's not like they made us wait for it a long time.
Right.
My reason behind it is because I think that they're wanting to showcase how diversified the cast is at this early point, because it took us until season 5, I believe, in The Walking Dead. We had a lesbian couple and then we had a gay couple in the same season, right? And I think this show is showcasing that they are diverse. Like look at our main cast in comparison to what The Walking Dead kind of started with.
We have a gay guy, and it's the black guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel almost like that's. I don't agree that should have been a big shock reveal at the end of the episode. I mean, it was, as you mentioned, it was teased throughout. It was just like, okay, interesting. I was more interested in how Strand related? Like, what is his fetish with getting to Mexico? Why is he so? What is his backstory? What is going on with his character other than his relationship? I mean, we had to give more of a backstory about. We need to give more of a backstory on everyone. I think this was a good one to start with because he's one of the most complex characters.
You know, yeah, it would have been nice if they had sort of thrown it in there as a no big deal thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that would have been more contemporary because I think we've gotten to a point now, especially on television, where it's just like, whatever. But, you know, I think with genre stuff, a lot of times there's a sort of tendency to reduce characters to the sort of easiest, most obvious types. And so to have a gay guy in this kind of situation, especially a character who up until now has been kind of the boss of everybody.
Yeah. And
Like the guy in charge and the most ruthless and the most pragmatic, exactly. I was gonna say, like, you know, results focused. You know, so to then throw that in there, it's kind of like, oh, all right, I didn't necessarily see that coming.
Yeah.
I do know Coleman Domingo used to be on the Big Gay Sketch Show, but you know that doesn't tell us anything.
So you're right, because it wasn't just a passing fact. It was the focus of the end of that episode. So I guess this show isn't quite there in that terms.
Yeah.
But I guess to know nothing about a character and introduce his humanity so suddenly, it's okay that anything that they reveal is a little shocking.
Right. It was all kind of becoming fast and furious. And now that that's done, we know it. We can move on. It doesn't have to be.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, exactly. But I'm saying they don't have to treat it with tongs anymore. Like now, it's like we know it's been established, and so now it either matters or doesn't matter as the story continues. But it's not like this revelation that we have to.
Well,
do.
yeah.
And it's good that he's alive at the end of the episode to continue the plot for himself. Not just give us his character development and let him drown.
See ya.
Well, that's a good thing about that is I take the encouragement that they were able to deal so well with a character development story in amongst an action-packed episode, right? Because we, again, touching back on The Walking Dead, we've seen episodes that are solely focused on character development, and that somewhat seems as a filler, right? Because it's like so focused on what one character is doing and how their past experiences helped sculpt what they were doing. But I love that they were able to include this throughout the episode. I now want to see it more so with Daniel. I think that he's one of the most, I would say, interesting characters. His dilemma that's going on at the moment, his past Catholicism, I assume, is being lost in this world. Like what, and with his action with his wife, is what you said in the previous season. I want to know what has sculpted his character and how he has so easily adapted to this world and the actions that need to be taken. So if they can take this example and start portraying it with the other characters, I'm on board.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot on board.
I didn't even need that one, but I guess give me it, Alonso.
I think there's a lot to be explored with, certainly with the adult characters that we haven't gotten to know as well. And no, you're right. I like the fact that on one level, this was the most like blam kablam things happening episode, and they were able to intercut that and sort of a kind of talky character-based background stuff.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens next time on Fear the Walking Dead. We'll see what 2 members of our group do in captivity and how the others plan to get them back, if they do at all.